The scent of groundnut stew simmered on the stove, while Kelechi watched her stepmother arrange papers across the dining table in their Surulere home. 3 months. She'd been carrying this life. For 3 months, and Ifeoma was already orchestrating how to strip away the final fragments of what remained from her. Parents, sign here. Ifeoma's voice sliced through the air like a sharpened blade. It's merely a formality. You'll still have access to the funds. Kelechi tightened her grip on her bag strap. 45 million naira and the property in Ikoyi. Everything her father had built over 20 years as a civil engineer. Everything that remained of him, beyond the memories fading like photographs left in sunlight. I need to read it first. Read it? Ifeoma released a dry laugh. You think I, your stepmother, would try to deceive you? My daughter, after everything I've done for you? The Igbo sounded artificial coming from her mouth. Ifeoma had never called Kelechi my daughter when her father was alive. Now 6 years after the accident, the mask of kindness cracked increasingly. From the hallway, Dubem appeared, 28 years old, expensive silk shirt, smile that never reached his eyes. Kelechi felt her stomach twist. It wasn't morning sickness, it was memory. 3 months earlier, party in Lekki, drink with bitter taste, dark room pain. Kele needs time to think, mother. Dubem moved too close. Don't you, Kele? She backed away until hitting the wall. Her phone vibrated in her pocket, notification from University of Lagos reminding about overdue tuition. Accounting, 3rd year interrupted. Dreams filed away with textbooks she could no longer afford. Actually, Ifeoma folded the papers with calculated deliberation. I have a better proposal. Dubem is willing to marry you. Resolve this delicate situation. The world tilted. Kelechi gripped the wall. Marry, it's the honorable thing. Dubem touched her shoulder. She pulled away as if burned. The baby needs a father. You need stability. No. The word emerged stronger than Kelechi expected. Ifeoma narrowed her eyes. Then what? You'll raise this child alone? Without resources, without education? What future do you offer? Kelechi embraced her still, subtle belly beneath the blue Ankara dress. 3 months, a heart beating inside her. A life that hadn't asked to exist, but that she would protect with everything she possessed. Any future except that one. She left before they could stop her. Lagos at 6 in the evening was sonic chaos. Danfoss honking, vendors shouting, Afrobeats leaking from 1,000 directions. Kelechi walked without destination, sweat running down her back in the October heat that never relented. At the corner of Herbert Macaulay Road, a man collected empty beer cans from a gutter. Torn clothes, unkempt beard, dark skin gleaming with sweat. He hummed something in Igbo, traditional melody her father used to sing. Neka Oma, Enwa Oma. Good mother, good child. Kelechi stopped. The man raised his eyes. There was something in them, something that didn't match the ragged clothes. Intelligence, sharp awareness. You all right, sister? He asked in Nigerian pidgin. I'm fine. Lie. She hadn't been fine for months. The phone rang. Ifeoma. Kelechi declined. Rang again. Message. You have until tomorrow to decide. After that, you leave this house 1 week. That's how long it took for Kelechi to find herself at the same corner again, backpack containing all her belongings weighing on her shoulders. Ifeoma had executed her threat. The man was still there, now organizing plastic bottles in enormous bags. You came back. He smiled. White teeth, surprisingly clean. I have nowhere to go. That's when Ifeoma appeared, stepping from a black Mercedes. Kelechi hadn't seen her follow. The driver opened the door, and the stepmother emerged in a yellow geel dress, all pomp and performance. Kelechi! The voice echoed through the street. Passers-by stopped. Ifeoma wanted an audience. I've thought of a solution for your problem. She pointed at the man beside Kelechi. Marry him. This beggar. Prove you don't need family. Prove you can survive with nothing. Laughter exploded around them. People pulled out phones, filming. Lagos loved spectacle. The man remained still, face unreadable. And when you come crawling back, Ifeoma continued, when that idiotic pride collapses, perhaps I'll reconsider letting you sign the papers that guarantee your future. It was a trap. Ifeoma expected refusal, public humiliation, Kelechi's complete breakdown. She expected victory. Kelechi looked at the man. He stared back with those strange eyes, too intelligent. There was a silent question there. "Your name?" She asked in Igbo. "Chisom, God accompanies me." "Name of promise, Chisom," she repeated. "Would you accept marrying me?" The silence lasted an eternity. Then slowly he smiled. "Yes." Ifeoma paled. This wasn't what she'd planned. Kelechi extended her hand. Chisom grasped it, calloused palm but firm, grip that transmitted something inexplicable. Solidarity. Understanding. In the weeks that followed, Kelechi learned the new geography of her existence. Ojegunle, jungle city, where narrow streets seethed with compressed humanity. The room Chisom rented measured 3 by 3 meters. A mattress on the floor, kerosene stove, bucket for bathing. The single window overlooked an alley where children played football with a deflated ball. "It's not much," Chisom apologized on the first day. "It's shelter." Kelechi placed her backpack in a corner. "It's more than I had this morning." He slept on the floor. Insisted. Kelechi accepted the thin mattress because of the baby, because she was too exhausted to argue. During the night, she listened to Chisom breathe in the darkness. Controlled breathing, not of someone who sleeps on streets, but she didn't question. Everyone had secrets. The days gained strange rhythm. Chisom left early, returned at twilight with money from recycling. Kelechi sold cold water at the Oshodi Expressway traffic light. Pure water, ice cold, her voice competing with 1,000 others. 100 naira per sachet, 1,000 naira on good days. Never enough. It was Sister G who found Kelechi collapsed under the 2 o'clock sun. "Kai, this girl will kill herself and the baby." The 40-year-old trader, red Ankara and gold gil, dragged Kelechi to the shade of her stall at Ajagunle market. "You're pregnant and selling water under this sun." "Mad person, completely mad." She pushed a glass of chilled zobo into Kelechi's hands. The red liquid made from hibiscus flowers went down like blessing. "Sister G," she introduced herself, "and you're working for me now. No more street. You'll help here in the shade." It wasn't a request. It was a decree. Kelechi didn't have strength to refuse. That evening, in the tiny room, she told Chisom, "Sister G gave me work. 200 naira per day plus food." He sat against the wall, patched shirt open, revealing muscular chest, another strange detail. Beggars didn't have defined muscles. "She's good people." Chisom spoke Igbo with educated accent, rich vocabulary. "She always helps those who need it. You know her. Ajagunle is small. Everyone knows everyone. But there was something more. Kelechi perceived it now, the way other residents waved to Chisom with peculiar respect. How nobody bothered him. How sometimes he disappeared into whispered meetings with men in suits in expensive cars that stopped discreetly in the alley. 1 month passed. Kelechi's belly began showing. Sister G fed her constantly. Jollof rice with chicken, pounded yam with egusi, hot akara every morning. "You're eating for 2 now." No shame here. It was one of those afternoons, arranging tomatoes at the stall, that Kelechi saw them. 2 men in black suits crossing the market, eyes sweeping the area. One held a photograph. When he turned it, Kelechi recognized the face. Chisom. She lowered her head, heart racing. The men questioned vendors. Nobody answered. In Ajegunle, you don't hand over neighbors to strangers in suits. The men left, frustrated. "You saw?" Sister G asked quietly. "I saw. Your husband isn't who he seems to be." "I know." "And you're staying?" Kelechi touched her belly. 4 months now. At the free ultrasound at the community clinic, they'd seen the heart beating. Tiny, perfect, determined. "Like her, I'm staying." He stayed for me, but that night when Chisom returned late, Kelechi was awake. "Who are you?" He froze in the doorway. For a long moment, they simply looked at each other. Then Chisom sighed, closed the door, sat on the floor. "My full name is Chisom Obinna Namdi Jr. Kelechi knew that surname. All of Lagos knew it. Namdi Enterprises, technology, oil, construction, billions of naira. One of Nigeria's most powerful conglomerates. My father died 7 months ago." Chisom's voice came out rough. "Poisoned, slowly, by people he trusted." He told everything. How he'd witnessed his father wither, doctors baffled. How after the funeral, he'd noticed discrepancies in company accounts, money vanishing, fraudulent contracts, loyal executives suddenly wealthy. I didn't know who to trust, so I disappeared, became invisible to investigate, and it worked. I'm close, very close. Chisom looked at her. But I found you, and that complicated everything. Why did you help me? Because I'd seen your stepmother before. At the company gala 3 months ago. She was with the corrupt executives I was investigating, laughing, conspiring. And I saw you too that night. Serving drinks, dead eyes. Then you disappeared. When I found you on the street, I realized she did something to you. Kelechi felt tears burning. Nobody had noticed. Nobody had seen. She didn't, her son did. The words came out broken. Chisom didn't move, just listened while Kelechi poured out 3 months of silence. The party, the drink, the room, waking with aching body and shattered soul, discovering the pregnancy, the horror of contemplating impossible choices. When she finished, Chisom had tears in his eyes too. I'm sorry. Sorry that happened. And sorry I lied about who I am. You protected me, gave me shelter, never touched me without permission, never judged me. Kelechi wiped her face. You treated me like a person. That's worth more than honesty about a surname. They stayed awake all night talking. Chisom showed evidence he'd collected, photographed documents, recordings, traced bank transfers. Ifeoma was at the center. She facilitated bribes, laundered money through phantom properties. And Dubem? He used the taxi company he managed to transport stolen goods. I can expose them, Chisom said, but I need one thing, physical proof. Documents I know your stepmother keeps in the Surulere house. You want me to go back there? No, I want you to stay safe. He hesitated. But if there's a way to get those papers, Kelechi thought quickly. Ifeoma never changed passwords. Thought Kelechi too stupid to threaten. And there was a copy of the office key at home, hidden behind the wedding portrait. Her father had shown her where. Years ago. I can get them. It's dangerous. Living is dangerous. Kelechi touched her belly. And I want my child growing up in a world where people like Ifeoma don't always win. It took 2 weeks planning. Sister G insisted on helping. These rich women think they're smart. I'll show how market woman plays. And recruited her entire Ajigunle network. Vendors, Okada riders, even the local church pastor. The plan was simple. Sunday afternoon, when Ifeoma would be at church, where she went to perform piety, Kelechi would enter the house. Sister G would watch the street. Chisom would stay nearby with 3 loyal security guards disguised. But simple plans never survive contact with reality. Kelechi was in the office, hands trembling while photographing documents with the phone Chisom had given her when she heard a car arriving. Ifeoma, 2 hours early, I knew. The voice came cold from the doorway. Knew you'd come back. Ifeoma wasn't alone. Dubem behind her and 2 private security guards. I thought you'd learn, Ifeoma continued, but you're stupid like your father. He also trusted too much. Also thought kindness won. You killed him. It wasn't a question. Kelechi saw truth reflected in Ifeoma's smile. I facilitated the accident. Brakes fail, Kelechi. Especially when someone pays the right mechanic well. Rage, pure and burning. Kelechi lunged forward, but Dubem grabbed her. Painful force on her arm. Now you'll sign the papers, Ifeoma said, or Dubem will ensure accidents happen to pregnant women too. That's when Chisom appeared at the window. Not alone. 6 men with him, 4 in suits, 2 in police uniform. Mrs. Okonkwo. Chisom spoke with completely different voice of command. You're under arrest for fraud, money laundering, and conspiracy to commit murder. Ifeoma turned white. She recognized then finally who he was. Namdi, the old man's son. And you've been stealing from my company, using connections from marriage to Kelechi's father to access contracts, privileged information. Chisom held a tablet showing data. I have 7 years of evidence, including communications about your late husband's accident. In the days that followed, all of Lagos talked. Billionaire magnate living disguised. Villainous stepmother arrested. Pregnant orphan heroine. Media devoured the story with ravenous hunger. Kelechi hated the attention, but accepted the platform it offered. She went on Channel's TV, sat with Marayo, told her story. Not all of it didn't speak about rape, not yet, but spoke about manipulative stepmother, about being forced to the streets, about kindness of strangers. "And your husband?" Marayo asked. "Chisom Namdi. You married when he was a beggar. And now?" Kelechi looked at the camera. Chisom watched from backstage, nervous. "Now we choose again. We married from necessity, but we stay from choice." The interview went viral. 2 million views in 3 days. Offers arrived, sponsorships, donations, a producer wanting to make a film. Kelechi refused most. Accepted full scholarship to finish accounting. Accepted mentorship program for young mothers in Nigerian universities, and accepted Chisom's proposal. "Marry me again," he asked one evening, on the terrace of the Ikoyi mansion that was now theirs, but this time the right way. Traditional ceremony, family, whatever you want. "I don't want big party." Kelechi touched her 7-month belly. "I want small, intimate, real." The ceremony happened at Sister G's house in Ajagunla. 30 people, neighbors, market friends, the 3 loyal executives who'd helped Chisom in the investigation. Kelechi wore green and gold ankara that Sister G had sewn. Chisom, white embroidered dashiki. The local pastor conducted blessings in Igbo. They exchanged kola nuts, symbolic, sharing life's bitterness and sweetness. Chisom recited vows he'd written. "This is my promise. I promise to see you, all of you. Not just your pain or your strength, but the complete woman. I promise to stand beside you, not above or below. I promise our child will grow knowing family isn't blood, but choice." Kelechi couldn't stop crying. When her turn came, voice emerged, choked. "You found me when I was invisible. Made me feel seen. I promise to do the same. I promise we'll build something new together. Something that honors where we came from but doesn't chain us there." Afterward, there was jollof rice. Sister G had made mountains of it. Suya, fried plantain, akara. DJ played Afrobeats and highlife. Neighborhood children danced. People laughed. Lagos at night was humid heat. Stars invisible behind light pollution, but on that tiny terrace, surrounded by community that had embraced her, Kelechi felt something she hadn't felt in years, belonging. 3 weeks later, contractions began. Hard labor, 12 hours at Lagos University Teaching Hospital. Chisom held her hand the entire time, no matter how hard she squeezed. Sister G on the other side, whispering encouragement in Igbo. "My child, you were born for this. You're strong. Stronger than you imagine." When the baby finally emerged, a girl, 6 pounds, perfect, Kelechi didn't think about the biological father. She thought about choice. She thought about love being a verb, not a feeling. Neka, she named her. "Mother is supreme," Chisom cried when he held the baby. Kelechi watched the man who'd been a disguised billionaire, who'd investigated corruption, who'd become her best friend before becoming her husband, cradling the child with reverence of someone who understands miracles. "My child," he whispered to Neka in Igbo, "I'm going to be your father, not through biology, but because I choose. Every day I choose." 6 months later, Kelechi stood in the University of Lagos auditorium, wearing green and white robes, holding her accounting diploma. The audience applauded. Chisom held Neka in the front row, baby wearing tiny Ankara-matching fathers. But it wasn't that achievement that defined the moment. It was afterward, at the press conference Kelechi had requested. Alone at the podium, she breathed deeply. "I want to speak about something I've kept. My daughter isn't the result of a consensual relationship. She's the result of rape." Heavy silence fell. Cameras clicked furiously. "I'm telling this not for pity. I'm telling it because there are thousands of Nigerian women, African women, carrying shame that isn't theirs, silenced by victim-blaming culture. And I want them to know you aren't your worst experience. You are your choices after it." She announced then the foundation she and Chisom would create. Legal aid for survivors of sexual violence, educational scholarships, mentorship program. The name, Neka Foundation. Because mother is supreme. Because women who survive and create despite everything are supreme. Donations began before she finished speaking. Nigerian entrepreneurs, diaspora, ordinary people donating 500 naira, 1,000 naira. By week's end, they'd raised 120 million naira. Lagos continued being Lagos, chaotic, loud, impossible. But now, when Kelechi drove through the streets toward the foundation office in Victoria Island, she saw a different city. Not purified, not redeemed, but full of possibility. She stopped at Ajagunle Market on Thursdays, helping Sister G, never forgetting roots. Nneka grew bilingual, Igbo and English, surrounded by community that loved her. Chisom had rebuilt Namdi Enterprises into something more ethical, employing thousands, donating profits generously. But it wasn't money that mattered, it was choice. It was waking every day and deciding to build something better. One afternoon, 2 years after the wedding, Kelechi sat on the terrace of her Ikoyi home. Property she'd inherited from her father, now real home. Nneka played at her feet, stacking colored blocks. Chisom arrived from work, loosening his tie. "Good day?" he asked. "We helped 8 women today. 3 got restraining orders, 5 enrolled in training programs." Kelechi smiled. "Very good day." Chisom sat beside her. Lagos stretched below, city of 20 million, chaos and beauty intertwined. Music leaked from 1,000 directions. Street food smell rose in the air. Traffic honked eternally. "Do you think," Kelechi asked suddenly, "my father would be proud?" Chisom took her hand. "I think he is proud. And I think your daughter, when she grows up, will tell your story. She'll say, 'My mother was invisible but refused to disappear.' She was forced to marry a beggar, discovered he was a billionaire, but the real wealth was who they became together." Nneka chose that moment to knock down her tower of blocks, laughing with pure joy. Kelechi picked her up, inhaling the scent of baby powder and innocence. "Thank you," she said to Chisom, "for seeing me when I was invisible." "Thank you," he replied, "for teaching me that trust isn't weakness." And there, as the sun set over Lagos, painting the sky orange and purple, Kelechi finally understood. Her name had always been prophecy. Kelechi, thank God, not for the easy path, but for the journey that transformed her, for the scars that strengthened her, for the daughter in her arms, for the man beside her, for the chaotic city below that never sleeps, never quits, always reinvents itself. Thank God not for absence of pain, but for presence of choice. And she'd chosen to live, chosen to love, chosen to build a legacy not of victimization, but of quiet, daily victory. Nneka fell asleep in her arms, breathing softly, future unlimited. And Kelechi, orphan who became wife, who became mother, who became activist, finally allowed herself to believe she was enough. Always had been, and always would be. Kelechi's story reminds us that our circumstances don't define our destiny. Even in the darkest moments, when we seem invisible to the world, we have the power to choose who we become. True wealth isn't in bank accounts, but in the human connections we build, in the courage to trust again, and in the daily decision to transform pain into purpose. Sometimes, the most beautiful endings are born from the most unlikely beginnings, and the people who save us appear in the most unexpected disguises. What city are you watching from? Drop a comment below and tell us which part of Kelechi and Chisom's journey resonated most with you. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel for more inspiring stories that celebrate the strength, resilience and beauty of contemporary Africa, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a new narrative. Your engagement strengthens this community of people who believe in the transformative power of stories. See you in the next one.